Hello, my beautiful and wonderful movie peeps out there. Thank you for clicking on an episode of SideFlick. Let's talk about some movie news. Some of the things we're going to be discussing here today, guys, is it looks like we are definitely getting a delay for Beyond the Spider-Verse. Deadpool 3 has yet another wild update, making it look like this will be another Cameo Fest superhero movie. We got The Flash continuing to just underperform at the box office, foreshadowing real disaster for the future of the DCU. Really, that alone with so much more, so you guys know the drill. Timestamps will be in the description. You can take a peek at everything we're going to be discussing here today, and I did want to mention something to you guys. I went ahead and opened up a second channel. I'll have it linked in the description. It's 3C Films Clips. Some of you guys know I mentioned that Twitch reached out to me to stream on their platform, and look, I'm not dumb. I know people who watch stuff on YouTube don't always like to go to another platform to watch their content, and if you're one of those people that just didn't want to follow me on Twitch, you can subscribe to this clip channel, and I'll be taking some of the best and funniest moments from my streams and just uploading them there. This is just me kind of experimenting with content. Hopefully I stay consistent with it, but if one day I never bring it up again, you better not bring it up again, okay? What second channel? And just to kind of jump off that point, enough of you guys reached out to me saying, Chris, why don't you do live streams on YouTube, man? Come on, you're a YouTuber. And you know what? You guys run this channel. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be having the space I have, so I will be doing some live streams on YouTube every Friday night. I'll be doing 3 or 4 streams a week on Twitch, but once a week here on Friday nights, I'll be trying out streaming on YouTube just so I can interact with you guys, have a little bit of a discussion. And again, remember, this is just me experimenting, trying something different and new. If it doesn't work out in a couple weeks or a month, I'll just stop doing it. But me making YouTube videos about movies I'm excited about, that's not gonna go away. So let's start talking about the news. All right, and the first thing I wanted to talk about here today, guys, is we did get a trailer that I actually found really fun, and that's the trailer for the GameStop event that happened during the pandemic that they have now titled Dumb Money. Again, maybe you weren't online witnessing everything, but this is like a stock market movie where just a YouTuber rounded up a group of people to buy up all the stock in GameStop, and it somehow turned them rich. Look, I watched Wolf of Wall Street once or twice. I still don't understand stocks, but I just know you can get rich. But man, this trailer hooked me in. For one, the cast is stacked. A lot of recognizable faces and people I like. Yeah, I'm definitely giving this trailer a treasure. It's funny how many movies we've gotten this year that are based on like true story brands. You know, this is technically the GameStop movie of the year. We've already had the Hot Cheeto movie, the Tetris movie, the BlackBerry movie, the Nike Air Jordan movie. Even Apple released a trailer for a Beanie Baby movie. All of those being released this year. Wild times. But I'm curious to hear from you guys if you saw the trailer for Dumb Money. Is this a movie you'd be looking forward to watch? And just for funsies, if they made a biopic about my life, who do you think would be the best actor to portray me, okay? I know I'm going to get my feelings hurt asking this question. I think Josh Hutcherson would do a fine job, okay? But alright, moving on from there, it looks like we might have gotten the title for the spin-off Dwayne Johnson movie in the Fast and Furious universe. So by now, maybe a lot of you have seen Fast X, or you have heard about the post-credit scene involved in that movie. If not, spoilers. Come by the post-credit scene of that movie, it's revealed that Dwayne Johnson is returning to the Fast and Furious universe, even though he mentioned he would never do that, setting up that his daughter had been kidnapped by Jason Momoa's character, Dante. All of us thinking this will be some sort of story element that'll be included in Fast X Part 2, but no, it was quickly revealed the thing that made Dwayne Johnson return to the series is the promise of his own solo movie that is not going to be a Hobbs and Shaw sequel. It'll be its own thing that bridges the gap between Fast X and Fast X Part 2. Well, now thanks to Production Weekly that goes ahead and lists off some of the movies going into production, they have the title of this film being Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Reyes. Now, of course, we know Hobbs represents Dwayne Johnson's character, and it looks like the Reyes part of it will be representing Dante, Jason Momoa. And so this movie will be a face-off of those two characters. You know what? You hooked me in. I hope Jason Statham is still part of it in some sort of fashion. I just think the chemistry he had with Dwayne Johnson on screen as those two characters worked really well. But I loved what Jason Momoa brought as this new villain in the Fast and Furious universe. They're kind of Thanos, the big bad. And just seeing how flamboyant and like extra Jason Momoa is, I can't imagine that next to Hobbs. I'm also going to make a wild prediction right now. Hobbs is dying by the end of this movie. I'm calling it, man. This movie might be the bridge to the Fast X Part 2, but now after what they did with John Cena's character, where, again, spoilers if you haven't seen Fast X, they killed Jacob, which, come on, no one dies in these universes. If you're not going to take advantage of the fact that John Cena and Dwayne Johnson are in your universe and somehow make them collide, this movie either ends with Hobbs dying, then Familia in Fast X Part 2 taking vengeance, or, and maybe this is the likely one, Hobbs will have to be forced to work with Dante to save his daughter, going against his new friends and familia. That's how you set up the Jacob versus Hobbs fight right there, if Jacob turns out to be alive, which he better frickin' be, man. I'm gonna be watching this movie. I've been this far with the Fast and Furious franchise. I enjoy them. I thought the last one was better than Part 9, so I'm curious to see if these final movies stick the landing. But what do you guys think about the title for the Hobbs spin-off movie, and what are some of your speculations with that? Bringing us here to another update on Bad Bunny's El Muerto movie. I can't believe this has now become the El Muerto update channel here. I'm starting to become the biggest fan of this movie. Last we talked about this movie is it got revealed that Sony has removed the El Muerto from their release calendar. It was going to be released in January of next year, but because of the writer's strike and them not being able to make some changes to the script, delaying the film a little bit, and Bad Bunny's about to go on tour, he's not going to become available to film this thing, it looks like this movie might not be happening. I was cheering, I was clapping, going, oh, thank goodness, not another Spider-Man spin-off. But it looks like El Muerto does not go down without a fight. Because thanks to One Take News here, they're reporting that yes, Bad Bunny has exited the movie, and it's why it's been removed from the Sony release calendar, but it looks like Sony might still have the interest to make this movie, and they're just gonna recast the role. ¿Por qué? Look, when this movie got announced, it felt very obvious. The only reason they're making this is because Bad Bunny is a big success. He has a large fan base. So if the reason you have to delay the movie right now is because your star of the film that you were hinging all your success on is no longer available, maybe just don't make the movie, Sony. Move on to making a Spider-Man spin-off on someone people would actually want to see. A live-action Spider-Man 29 movie. A live-action Spider-Man Noir movie. A live-action Spider-Gwen movie. Not a comic book character that appeared in like 2 comics max getting their own film. And this makes me think back. A couple months ago, Bad Bunny joked around that Pedro Pascal could replace him in the movie. I don't think Buddy was joking. I could definitely see then Sony going, Pedro Pascal, another famous Latino. We make him El Muerto? You decide. So yeah, it looks like we still live in the universe where an El Muerto movie might not die and is still happening. So I throw it off to you guys. It looks like Bad Bunny won't be part of El Muerto, but Sony still maybe wants to make the movie and recast. Is that a good idea? And well, speaking of Spider-Man and Sony projects here, we are all looking forward to the sequel to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse titled Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. And well, some behind-the-scenes drama is kind of making it clear we might be getting this movie delayed. Now, I don't want to overblow this drama because there is a whole article talking about how the VFX artists who made this movie, there was a total of about 100 workers who decided to quit because of the conditions. Apparently for a full year, they were working 11-hour shifts, 7 days a week without really a break. And the article does attribute a lot of that to Phil Lord, one of the producers of these movies, for always making constant changes and tweaks that take months or weeks to fix in the world of animation. I mean, think about it, how long it takes to animate a scene. He comes in and says, yeah, you know what? We don't want to do this anymore. How about we do it like this? Only complicating the job of these VFX workers and really tiring them out. And in recent years, this feels like something that a lot of people are being made aware of, how VFX workers, specifically in animated movies, are really being pushed to the brink. This is the comment one of the workers had to make about Beyond the Spider-Verse and how there's no way they're going to make their March 2024 release date, saying they announced that Beyond the Spider-Verse will be released in March of next year. I've seen people say, oh, they probably worked on it at the same time. There's no way that movie comes out then. There's been progress on the pre-production side of things, but as far as the production side goes, the only progress that has been made on the third one is an exploration or tests that were done before the movie was split in 2 parts. Everyone's been fully focused on Across the Spider-Verse and barely crossing the finish line. And now it's like, oh yeah, now we have to do the other one. That is kind of crazy and wild to hear. And just like with like the writer's strike currently going on right now, writers demanding better wages, better pay, better respect in Hollywood, I think in the coming years we're going to see that same situation happen to these VFX workers. I mean, even Amy Pascal at Sony came out with a statement after this VFX worker said that, saying, welcome to making movies. That's Hollywood, baby. Which I guess in some point I can understand that phrase, but it just feels very insensitive to say because no one should be forced to work that many long hours away from their family and personal lives to where they just feel drained and depressed. Again, the reason I was saying I don't want to blow this drama out of the water is because in that same article, they mentioned it was about 100 workers who felt that way, while the other 1,000 who also worked on the Spider-Verse said that they had a positive experience working on the movie. That, yeah, it was challenging, but it was also very rewarding. Look, what whatever your stance is on this, I just think we can all kind of agree, even if it takes 2, maybe 3 more years to get Beyond the Spider-Verse, I'll be fine with it as long as these people are treated with some humanity. But I toss it off to you guys. How do you feel about the possibility of Beyond the Spider-Verse looking to get delayed? Moving over here to talk about Deadpool 3, because man, it looks like some people are going to start to turn on this movie. So every one of us is definitely excited for the fact that Deadpool and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, are going to be in a movie together. It's also going to be part of the MCU. It'll close off what's so far looking to be a good trilogy. And while this movie's currently being made, we've gotten some wild rumors that like past X-Men characters from the early X-Men movies will be making it in there. Maybe some Fantastic Four members from the Fox universe, and now it's been reported that Ben Affleck has been spotted on set of Deadpool 3, looking likely that he might reprise his role as Daredevil in Deadpool for a small cameo or role. And now this will be kind of like the 4th or 5th movie we get dealing with the multiverse, having tons of cameos thrown in our faces. And it starts to feel like a lot of fans are getting annoyed by this now and are no longer seeing it as fan service. I'm still excited at the fact that if Ben Affleck is part of this movie, he could be reprising the role of Daredevil. Look, I saw that movie as a kid. It was my introduction to Daredevil, and it was because of that movie that I went out and read a couple of the comic books, the Frank Miller stuff. Heck, the book Daredevil Man Without Fear is still one of my favorite graphic novels I've ever read. As an adult, yes, I clearly see the flaws, corniness, and some of the dumb aspects of this movie, but it holds a special place in my heart. And to think that we can maybe see that role portrayed again and hopefully not just turn into a joke so Deadpool can make a Batman reference, I would be kind of excited. But I also don't blame the people who are just burnt out with this, especially with something like The Flash that also had a cameo fest scene. And then we had a Multiverse of Madness that also had cameos. We had No Way Home that was built upon, I would say, more supporting roles than cameos. But this is starting to feel more like a gimmick and just like an easy way to reel people in for tickets instead of actually bringing some substance into the movie. And that's why I'm saying some people are starting to turn on Deadpool 3. So I don't know. I'm still in between. I wouldn't mind it. If anything, I would be one of those idiots clapping and cheering if I saw Daredevil in there. Heck, if I saw Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider or Thomas Jane Punisher, oh, I would love that. I loved those movies as a kid. They were my introduction to those characters. But it really will depend on how it's used. And even if the story is brilliant in here, a 10-second cameo will have a bunch of internet reviewers online going, "There's nothing but fan service. 2 out of 10. Bring me an A24 film now." But I toss it off to you guys. You hear Deadpool 3 could be a cameo fest of random fan service. Would you be excited or not for that? Bringing us here to talk about the DC Universe, because look, things are looking really grim, and I'm worried about the future of the DCU. So right now, we just had The Flash premiere in theaters, and I'll be honest with you guys, I was someone thinking that maybe all the controversies and bad headlines attached to The Flash won't affect the movie that much. I knew there'd be a good chunk of people that wouldn't want to see the film because of Ezra Miller, and that's a totally respectable decision. I don't blame anybody for feeling that way at all. But I thought maybe the fact that this was the first big live-action movie of The Flash, an iconic superhero that I thought most people know. Then you have Michael Keaton Batman thrown in there. That should be a big deal. That's some people's first version of Batman. It's doing really bad. Shazam 2 could end up making more money than The Flash, and that just blows my mind. A movie like Shazam or Black Adam could be outperforming a Flash movie. And now it's brought up this conversation about what does this mean for the future of the DC Universe? Because there's been articles that Warner Brothers right now is really struggling for money, that they're doing everything in their power to gain some capital, gain some interest. There was an article that came out recently that their library of music is being sold off now to like Universal and other studios so that they can get $500 million. These DC movies, I feel like Warner Brothers is counting on to be big winners so they can turn a real profit and slowly save Warner Brothers a little bit. And that brings me to recently, we got an article about some of the studios that'll be skipping out at San Diego Comic-Con this year, and it feels like everybody is not going to be attending. Marvel isn't going to go, Sony isn't going to go, Universal's not going, Netflix isn't going. And in this same article, they mentioned that Warner Brothers is still currently on the fence on whether they want to go or not. And it made me realize if Warner Brothers does end up going to Comic-Con, as much of a lot of us were thinking, oh, they're going to make the Superman announcement, they're going to tell us who our new Clark Kent is, all those characters, maybe some updates on the DCU. I think it would be a terrible move to kind of do that right now. Warner Brothers, I think, is going to become extremely focused on making Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 a success, and I think people just don't care to want to see them because there's so much uncertainty about this DC universe, and there's this attachment to the previous world that some fans are just like, why would I want to go see these movies if you're rebooting it and you're reminding me every week online with Superman news that I should just wait for the Superman movie because that's when this new universe is starting. The fact that like the director of Blue Beetle has to come out and say, no, we're in the DCU, guys, and we're gonna be in a trilogy and we're gonna have future installments, as excited as that made me, it does feel desperate to people to go like, you should pay attention to this movie, please go support it and see it. And as like looking forward and excited I am for what James Gunn brings to the DCU, this does not seem good. What's gonna happen if Superman flops? What's gonna happen if the first 2 or 3 full DCU movies flop? I could definitely see Warner Brothers, who has been known to be super reactionary, scrap it all, take them out of power. And then we have yet again DC trying to reboot. And I really don't know what they need to do to make everything new. I think the best course of action is just to say, full-on reboot, cutting ties with everything and starting from point one instead of this half reboot. And I think it was a major mistake for James Gunn to announce his future of the DCU while all these movies still had to be released this year. I think it like did severe damage to a lot of these films. I don't know, man. It's troubling times, and I'm just speaking as a fan of DC characters. I want these movies to succeed. The Batman and Robin movie with Damian, super pumped to see that. I'm even worried about the Flash character, because although I don't want another Ezra Miller Flash movie, I don't want what happened to Green Lantern to happen to Flash. And what I mean by that is Green Lantern flopped once at the box office, and Warner Brothers never wanted to touch Green Lantern again for movies. Even to this day, Green Lantern is now going to be an HBO show. Green Lantern is such an awesome character. You don't throw him on to an expensive show. You give him another try in the movies. And I'd be worried that happens to Flash now. Because this movie bombed, it signals to Warner Bros., oh, no one cares about a Flash character. No one wants to see a speedster movie. HBO shows now. CW shows now. I don't want to live in a world where we go 10, 15 years without never seeing another Flash movie on screen. I don't know. This is where I throw it off to you guys. DC is in a bit of a hole right now. What, in your opinion, can make them rise up, can make everything better? And do you think the future of like the Blue Beetle box office and Aquaman 2, are they going to flop as hard as the Flash, or will they be doing better? But that is all the movie news we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.